Today on Lockdown Red Wings, we look at the usage of Jakub Vrana and we preview the third and final matchup against the New York Islanders.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Lockdown Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty also hosts over at Locked On Tigers. I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. And today, we're going to lead things off with we wanted to talk about Marc Staal before we get into Jakub Vrana in the preview, because they game against the Philadelphia Flyers, they held the ceremony for his 1,000th career.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday because we were too busy with like the actual game stuff.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. And it's not like a whole segment's worth, Scotty. It's just more like, congratulations to Marc Staal. He's had a hell of a career. And for a guy, when they traded for him, I mean, my mindset on Marc Staal was like last year of a $5 million deal. If he has a little bit of a bounce back, you can trade him. If not, at the end of the year, you let him go. No big deal. You got a couple of draft picks for taking on a contract. He has turned out, in my opinion, to be far much more than just that, than just a salary cap dump from the New York Rangers for draft picks. He has turned into a locker room leader, and even on the ice at 35 years old, he has actually been, I would say a decent defenseman for the Red Wings. Especially when you take in the fact that he's 35 years old, he's been an effective defenseman for the Detroit Red Wings this season on a defense that has overall been pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, no, and he hasn't contributed positively very much to the defensive side of the defensive unit, but
yes,
he's been a pretty solid offensive defenseman this year. He has. I mean, he's been pretty productive in that area. And yeah, like we saw the Mojo show, right, where they called him dad, and I had the same thing when he first came in. I was kind of just expecting, this is gonna be a guy. This guy's just really attached to the end of this team for the sheer fact that it was a salary dump, and Brian, man. Brian sent me a ridiculous text in the middle of my monologue here. When he was attached to this deal, I didn't think anything of it at all. I thought that, or I didn't think anything positive of it at all, I should say. I figured that it was solely added on so that we could get more draft capital in return, and that's still probably true, and definitely true. But he has definitely been a little bit more than I expected. I kind of expected a complete train wreck, and he would be gone after last season. But again, like I've already said, and like you already said, he's been a decent leader. I think it makes sense that he wears that A, and also for as if we just ignore the defense, he's actually been pretty productive offensively.
Yeah, he's an offensive defenseman at heart. And you know what? He, at 35, again, I reiterate, at 35 years old, and he got re-signed in the offseason to a one-year contract, $2 million, $3 million less than what he was making. Scotty, this season, he's got an expected goals for percentage of exactly 50%, which is the bar.
Yeah,
so he has been a decent contributor as a depth defenseman role on this team. And a lot of people joke and they meme about the usage of, the term locker room leader, and he's a locker room guy, but there is a actual value to that. And I think that Marc Staal, and you said it just in your monologue there before I made you laugh. He got that A for a reason, and it's because a lot of the young guys in that locker room look up to him. And there is, it gets to a certain point where you don't need 1,000 veterans in your locker room that are over 30 years old. You don't need, but it is nice to have that one guy that the team kind of considers the team dad. And when you're a young Red Wings team trying to build a culture, a guy like Marc Staal is pretty paramount to building that culture, and it's reflected in his teammates respect him. And I honestly have really enjoyed for a trade that was made when they made that trade, they got a second round pick out of it. And I was like, Marc Stahl's value is that second round pick. And I was like, I'm okay with the trade just because they got that second round pick out of it and they have the cap space to take him on. Like I said, we've gotten so much more out of Marc Staal than I'd ever hoped. And I'm glad that he got his 1,000th career game with the Detroit Red Wings because, he's just a class act guy. I'm really glad he's with the Red Wings. And if this is where he ends his career, I'm okay with that because this team that you need when you're trying to build a culture, Marc Staal is a perfect guy to build a culture with. I'm really happy he's with the Red Wings.
What do you think we do with him this offseason? What do you think his next move is?
To be honest, I think with this team kind of in a transition period, the defense needs a complete overhaul. And we've talked about it. Yzerman went out there, picked up Levy and traded for Woolman. So we got two good defensemen who are RFAs. Actually noted, now this is kind of an anecdote. Woolman actually needs to play 17 of the remaining 20 games with the Detroit Red Wings to remain an RFA. If not, he becomes a G6 UFA. So, because he did not play the required minimum NHL games by his age 25 season, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. But if he plays in 17 of the last 20, he remains an RFA.
Sure.
That's actually a huge deal.
Yeah, big difference.
If you think that, if you're the Red Wings, you throw him out there every single game so he hits that 17 threshold and remains an RFA.
Yeah, why not?
But that's neither here nor there. That's just an anecdote. This defense needs a whole overhaul, Scotty. So I'm not really sure what Marc Stahl's role is on it. Now, could I see him staying on for another season, considering the production he's had on the back end as a depth defenseman and kind of a leader? Yeah, but you don't need too many of those. You need one Marc Staal on the team. And are there younger, maybe more productive veteran defensemen out there you could grab? Probably. So I don't know if he sticks around past this year, but if he doesn't, I'm going to be incredibly grateful for the 2 years he has given the Detroit Red Wings because it's far more than I expected. And I think that the team has really responded well to him in the locker room. I mean, clearly he's gotten that A.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and like you said, the defensive core as a whole.
You're ridiculous. I hate you.
The defensive core as a whole is shallow, to say the least. Shallow. So I don't know, man. I go back and forth. I'm not really sure he's really fit for the future of the defense, but at the same time, it's already so shallow. And unless we're bringing in 4 dudes this offseason, we might have Mark stick around again and get. I wouldn't mind Marc Staal as a third line defenseman.
Yeah,
next season.
What's crazy too is
I think if he's second line again, that's where I'm like, okay, I don't think we got really any better, and this is going to be another train wreck of a blue line year. But if he's our third line defenseman, I can look around and say, okay, I'm okay with him still being here. He's still going to provide something on the back end. We'll still get his leadership, and on top of all of that, he got moved down, so we must have gotten better in the top 4.
That's a solid point. And I actually, while you were going on there and sending me a response back via text, I looked at his relative because I talked about his expected goals for percentage being 50, which is, mind you, in 56 games, the Red Wings expected goals for percentage, basically, which means quality shot attempts versus quality shot attempts for versus quality shot attempts against. The teams is only like 47, and Marc Stahl's is 50. So right then and there, you're seeing that he must be a positive impact if he's at 50, especially with how weak that defensive core is. Relative, he's a 4.96 at 5-on-5. So he's on the ice providing, 4.96% more quality shot attempts for than quality shots attempt against. And now a lot of that is because he's an offensive defenseman. So he's jumping up into play, taking shot attempts, because there have been a couple times he's been dog walked in the defensive zone.
You say that about pretty much everybody on this defense.
That is also that is very valid. So at 35 years old, I reiterate, he's created incredible value for the Detroit Red Wings. And I go back and forth. I try to separate my bias out of it. As a Red Wings fan, I like him. And it's like, okay, but this team going forward, are they going to need a Marc Staal? So that's where it gets tough because we as Red Wings fans get attached to players so easily, even if the team's not that great. Like Vladislav Nemesnikov, we were so attached to him. And so it hurts to see him leave, but you recognize in your head, like, okay, but business-wise, the cold-blooded side of you, the business side, is like, I understand why that move was made. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, going forward, like, if this is his last season, I understand why. But god dang, I love those 2 seasons he spent with the Detroit Red Wings. I think we got way more out of him than anyone expected. And I think part of his revitalization of his career is because he came to a team that wanted him. And at the end of his tenure in New York, I don't think the Rangers wanted him. And I think there was a
Well,
rift
certainly not.
between
They
the
gave him
organization
away. They basically
for
paid
nothing.
us to take him.
Yeah. Well, they literally did. Yeah. So here he's been clearly wanted. And I think that's led to a little bit of the revitalization, which is also another reason why it'd be hard to give him up.
Completely agree.
Well, we ended up getting a full segment out of that. That wasn't the intent, but apparently we love Marc Staal more than we anticipated. Started talking about him. It's like, oh, my feelings for him
That's
run a
the
little
dog.
deep. It's that beard, honestly. Like when one red beard to another, gotta love him.
To me.
To you, who's at least you have the hair on your head. He's got both, but
True.
Marc Stahl's just better than both of us in the end.
Well,
All right.
I don't disagree with that. He's a nice long NHL career. We're talking about it. So
I want to talk to you guys today about betonline.net. It's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the new website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Segment 2, Thursday edition, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. You got a grin on your face, and I do not trust that.
no,
You're
it's because
getting
of you. The way you said where the game starts was weird.
Okay. Well, that was the intent. I sometimes try to be weird, and I don't know if that actually benefits me or not.
Well, you
Probably
killed
not.
that one, brother.
Well,
did a
thank
great
you. I
job.
appreciate it, Scotty. Let's talk now about Jakub Vrana. And we've noticed, as has every Red Wings person on Twitter, because it's in our replies and it's on our feed, Jakub Vrana has been up and down in the lineup since returning. And a big part of the reason, Scotty, that he got traded to us in that Mantha deal is because the Washington Capitals and Vrana could not agree on how to utilize. By the way, that is the term. It just came to my head. That is the term I was thinking about earlier when I couldn't come up with the cold open. The term utilize. They couldn't come up with how to utilize a player like Jakub Vrana on an incredibly deep Washington Capitals team.
Isn't
So
that
I ended
literally
up.
what I told you to say?
You
Isn't that
said
what you ended up-
usage.
Oh, okay. I was like, I swear I used the
close.
U word. Is that
It's
not what
close.
I said? No, you're right.
Utilize is the word I was thinking of. Usage
You're
was
right.
still good though.
No. I genuinely couldn't remember what I said. That's all. Yeah, that's
He's a writer. Okay. It was an incredibly deep Washington Capitals team. They couldn't figure out quite how to use him. And so they traded him to a Red Wings team that would give him more opportunity. In theory, he played top 6 minutes in the last 10 games of the season last season. And then after his injury, he came back, played 2 games, top 6 minutes, then all of a sudden went down to the third line, provided no production. And then after the trade deadline, boom, back up in the top 6 again, scores 2 goals last night or 2 nights ago by the time you're listening to this. So the question becomes, why the hell were they ever putting him on the third line to begin with?
It's a great question.
you don't
Only
answer?
someone could answer that.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I don't get it. It didn't make sense to me then. It still doesn't make sense to me now. He scores pretty much every single night, and he was scoring in the first couple of games when he first came back, and you had him in top 6. I don't understand. I never understood the move to make him go down, and I'm hoping that the one silver lining that comes out of the Vlad trade is that Vrana can get some more minutes in the top 6 again.
Yeah, so he's played 7 games now. And I've seen a couple different theories as to why he got moved down. And I kind of want to debunk both of them. And honestly, I feel like my answer is contradictory to like how I've defended this particular individual in the past. But 2 overarching theories I've seen a lot on Twitter based on what I've seen in my replies. So, great track record there. But one was that they were showcasing Vlad Mesnikov. And so that's why Vlad was playing top line minutes. And there could be a grain of truth to that, but also Vlad Nemesnikov's a guy, you know, in the height of his career, his entire career has been a half point per game player. His entire career has been overarching a, depth forward, third line, second line at best. On this team, he's been forced to play top line minutes, and he's achieved that. There's an entire season's worth of evidence already suggesting this is what Vlad Nemesnikov is. And then on top of that, if they were showcasing him for that reason, and you still only got a fourth round for the year 2024, then what was the point in the first place? So I don't think it was to showcase Vlad as to why they moved Rana down in the lineup.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. That's not the type of player, like play style and fit wise. That's not the type of player you showcase. That just doesn't. You're going to showcase Vlad, what, 4 extra minutes a night, and that's going to really change everybody's opinion on him. Like,
Yeah,
he's averaging half a point a game. He's averaging half a point a game. It doesn't matter if he's down. That's not the type
he's
of
done
player
his entire
that you,
career.
right. That's not the type of player you do that 2 or 4. I don't agree with that. I don't think that
Vlad
makes too much
is
sense.
who Vlad is, and no matter where you put him in the lineup, that's who he is. That's what makes him such a strong asset. So there was really no need to showcase him, which is why I don't necessarily agree with that take. The other
Right.
take I saw a lot of is it was his conditioning. They put him on the third line to get him up to speed. And I don't agree with that for the principle of in the first 2 games, he played top 6 minutes and scored 3 goals in 2 games. He didn't look out of place. So why then all of a sudden would you move him down to the third line where he proceeds to score 0 goals in that stretch? You put him back in the top 6 and he scores 2 goals immediately. So that theory just doesn't seem to make sense to me either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I'm not really
Right?
sure the reasoning for having him start off there. If it was, I mean, I guess if they were going back and forth relatively frequently, then you could maybe be like, okay, it's an every other game thing. Maybe it is a conditioning thing, oh, they only want him to play like 14 tonight. But I mean, it was the first 2, and then it was just kind of, he was a third liner. So I don't really think strategy wise that really lines up with it being an ease into type of situation. I don't know. I don't think I agree with either of those.
So that brings me to my theory.
I don't
And
agree with it already. So
all
keep
right,
going.
beautiful. Well, that makes for good radio or good podcasting. That it was just poor coaching. And I've been
I might agree with it.
pretty staunch Blashill defender his entire tenure, and the team's taken a massive step forward. And whether or not you can say that's despite or because of or in spite of Jeff Blashill is that's your own opinion. But for the first time in what seems like a long time, I feel like that was just a move I disagree with by Jeff Blashill to put a guy as who has the scoring touch of Jakub Vrana. And I say this because Jakub Vrana in 7 games this season has 0 assists, but he has 5 goals. He isn't a guy who drives the play. He is a guy who finishes plays. So if you want Jakub Vrana to succeed, you got to put him with players who can put him in a position to succeed. Players like Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Tyler Bertuzzi. Those 3 guys are going to be able to put him in a position to succeed. And unfortunately, Joe Veleno's not there yet. So to put him on the third line is why you see a lack of production. You saw it. Both of it. One of his goals yesterday was he got the puck from behind the net. A pass came out from, I think, Q Suter. 2 of them in front of the net. He put it away. It was a nice shot by him. The other goal, Dylan Larkin fadeaway pass from the other direction, one-timer. He's a finisher. He doesn't drive the play. So if you want him to succeed, he's got to play top 6 minutes with your best players, and he'll do great. But if you put him on the third line, he's not going to do that well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that, and I think that a lot of his production does come from the level of playmakers that are also sharing a line with him.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No. Well, yeah, plenty. I would say almost maybe even a majority of wingers in the NHL are like that. That's not
Precisely.
a
Yeah.
not a bad thing at all. Um, it just means that it does matter who your line mates are, and Veleno's looked good the last couple of weeks too. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't think that should be lost on anybody that he's looked good the last couple of weeks. And how long has Vrana been back?
7 games. Like,
So
couple of weeks.
right. So like I don't think even without the goal scoring from Varane, I don't think it should just be lost on people as the correlation between those two things. But yes, I agree. I think it's just like getting the most bang for your buck. Like Varane is not the Bertuzzi type of score where in the sense that Bertuzzi just wreaks havoc in front of the net and just causes mayhem and eventually the puck gets on net and sometimes it goes in. And he can do that on any line, no matter who he's playing with, because he just turns into the Tasmanian devil and just
I love
goes
that.
crazy on the ice, right? Um, and so I think that it basic. I mean, like everything you said, man. Like he it just makes way more sense for him to be playing higher minutes and to be playing with people where you know his type of style, his production can get maximized rather than, oh, let's see if Veleno can make something work with him. Veleno's
Well,
looked really good. He's taken steps forward over the last couple of weeks. I still think the perfect utilization would be something different.
yeah. I mean, I think with the subtraction of Vlad Nemestikov from the lineup, I think there's going to be a much bigger opportunity for him to play top 6 minutes, and the Robbie Fabry injury, obviously, because you take away Robbie Fabry, who is a genuine top 6 forward, and Nemestikov, who is very versatile and play anywhere. I think that opens the door for Vrana to probably play top 6 minutes the rest of the season here on either the second or the first line. So it's not really an issue. I feel like the rest of the season here on out. The question becomes like, what are your lines though from here on out, especially when you play the New York Islanders tomorrow or tonight, rather, by the time you're listening to this. And, the New York Islanders are 6th in the Metropolitan Division. Flyers were 7th. They're playing for a team that should be bought better. They're not playing that great of that great of a season. They're 27, 25, and 9. So they are 2 games above 500, but the Metro Division's, it's a bitch. It's a tough division to play in.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
So you look at this game against the New York Islanders tonight with Jakub Vrana in mind. Like, what do you think your offensive lines are going to look like, especially with the addition of Oscar Sundqvist in the bottom 6?
Yeah, man. I think I want Larkin, Raymond, Zadina 1, Verona, Burt, Suter 2, and just have the
Really?
second line just cause absolute mayhem out there.
I'm surprised you want Zadina on the top line. What's your reasoning behind that?
The fact that I want those other 3 together on 2.
Fair enough.
That's
That's fair.
literally it. I mean, I would really enjoy a night of a Suter, Bertuzzi, Verana line. I think that could be a really, really effective. I think all of their play styles bounce off each other incredibly well. I think that could be a really effective line, which just leaves a hole at the top because I have Bert and Verana both on 2. And the only person left that I'm really chill with putting now that Vlad's gone, that I'm really chill with putting at left wing is honestly Zadina. So it's not really anything to do with, I think Zadina, whatever. But it's more of just I really want those other 3 to all play together for at least just give me a game of seeing it because I think it would be
Yeah.
sick.
I actually, now that you've explained it, I do understand what you're saying. Suter's good at like creating opportunities. Bertuzzi down low is the guy who's, grit, going to keep the puck, keep attention, and,
Verana
Vrana
just
being the
filling in the
finisher.
slot with his stick up.
I do personally think that Vrana would be better suited with guys like Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin, especially given what we've seen so far this season with Vrana and Larkin, what we saw last season. I think Vrana just benefits so greatly off of Larkin's playmaking ability. Same with Lucas Raymond.
Also fair.
Literally anyone you put with Dylan Larkin is going to benefit greatly.
Correct.
But with Vrana's finishing ability, putting him with Dylan Larkin, the synergy between those two could be unreal. I mean, we saw it in the game against the Flyers with that one-time goal. which would leave your second line being Zadina, Suter, and Bertuzzi. And that would get a little interesting because we continue to wait for Zadina's production to amp up. And you watch the games and you see it and you go, he's so close. He's so close, but he just can't figure it out. And then the third line I have is Veleno, Gagne, and Ernie because for some reason that line is good together. I don't know what it is.
I'm about it.
And my fourth line, Smith, Rasmussen, and Sundqvist.
Yes, sir. I have the exact same fourth, man. I think that would be
Bruiser.
such a sick fourth line, man.
Bruiser line. I just keep going back to it. I think that Nick Leddy trade made the team just deeper. Not like a ton better, but addition of those two players makes them a lot deeper of a team. Players that aren't going to like wow you on the ice, but just shore it up and make you a little bit more confident in your bottom six on both forward and defense, or bottom four, I guess, in defense. I just feel way more confident now after, again, one game, so maybe it's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Probably is a knee-jerk reaction. But based on who we had on this team in the bottom six and the bottom pair defensively before the trade deadline versus after the trade deadline, like all of a sudden, like, okay, well, it's less bad. I won't say it's good, but it's less bad.
It's not good, but it's less bad.
Yes.
Like in this game is pretty. I don't know if I'm confident saying winnable, but like
it should be. This is the
got
third time they've played each
got a
other.
really good goaltending situation over there. That's a team that
yes, they absolutely do.
Really, really, really good goaltending situation over there, which is always a fun game down, especially down the stretch, last whatever third of the season. But their offense has been a roller coaster of epic proportions, and has not been very good as of late. So, I don't know. Like, I'm not comfortable saying any Red Wings game is going to be low scoring, so that's not going to happen. You can't even really like sit up here and be like, oh, well, the Wings offense is going to show out. You can't really guarantee that either. I don't know. This could be a complete bleep show, to be honest with you, for both sides.
Well, the Red Wings have one thing going for them, and that's that in the first two matchups this season, they won both games, although they were both 1-goal games. And December 4th, they won 4-3 in overtime. I think that was a Moritz Seider overtime winner, if I recall correctly. And then the second game, they won 2-1 in regulation on December 14th. So they have beaten the Islanders twice, despite the fact that they have fantastic goaltending. And the fantastic goaltending you're referring to is Ilya Sorokin having a .927 save percentage in 41 games. That's bonkers, dude. There's a lot of really good goaltenders in this league, I'm finding out. And Sorokin with a .927 save percentage this season is insane. And then their backup, Simon Varlamov, with 21 games played and a save percentage of .917. Can you imagine having that tandem? And then not being, first, second, or third in your division.
Yeah. Like
they have goaltending and they have nothing else right now.
Right? Yeah. That's it. I don't know, man. I just get really big feels that this is just going to be a train wreck of a game for both teams. Those are the vibes that I get. I'm talking like somebody blows a lead and then that lead's blown and then I don't know, scrappy maybe. I just feel like this game is going to be a complete disaster for both teams.
You know what's funny is I actually disagree with you. I have got good vibes on this episode, on this game rather.
I'm glad you get good vibes on the app too, man.
I do have good vibes on this episode. I feel like it's been very good. Pat myself on the back. I want to pat you on the back too while I'm at it.
Thanks, man.
But I don't know. I look at this Islanders team, and they've been very underwhelming and underperforming all season long. They've already beat them twice. And Nedeljkovic having a couple bounce back performances, 3 now, where he's, had an above 900 save percentage, 2 of which were 40 save performances. I don't know. I just feel like this team's on the up. right now. They're after that 2 weeks of just poultry hockey. I feel like they're swinging upwards at the moment, and I think following the Flyers game with an Islanders team who again is above 500 but sixth in the Metropolitan Division because the Metropolitan Division is a bitch. It's really tough. I don't know. I just got this vibe that they're going to finish the season strong. Again, it's a vibe, just a vibe. So I
It's
could
a
be
vibe.
completely wrong.
Hey, it's a vibe. It's all a vibe.
It's all a vibe. But
Good vibes.
I got a good feeling right now.
X Factor.
Oh, Jakub Vrana. I don't know if that's a cop out or not, but
No, I'll take it.
he's giving me a vibe too. He's giving me a vibe right now. That 2-goal performance from against the Flyers piqued my interest. Let's say.
My X Factor. This is a cop out. I'll admit it. Whoever's the goaltender for the Islanders that night. That's my X Factor. I mean, that's been the only thing keeping them in games. Pretty much the only thing keeping them over 500 at the moment.
Even Varlamov's got a 917 save percentage, though. Like, that's still better than Nedeljkovic's at the moment.
Yeah, that's my point, man. The whole situation there is nutty. So, yeah, my X Factor is just going to be the performance of the goalie for the Islanders. There you go.
That's fair. I never said that we could not cop out when we do these things.
That's true.
That was never a rule that was in place.
That's true.
Let us know your guys' X factors for this game against the Islanders in the comments. And don't forget, you can leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple. Please do so if you would. It would be appreciated. And Scotty, any final thoughts?
Your mother.
Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day.
Scotty.
Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Hosts Steel Rodent and Flip Livingstone help your mother become the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.
We ball, baby.
We absolutely ball. Scotty's hilarious. You've made my girlfriend start saying that to me.
I'm so happy about it. That's like the greatest screenshot I've ever gotten in my life.
Like, look what you've done. Look what you've done.
I'm so happy. You can make a grown man cry.
All right, we'll be back with a game recap tomorrow and 2 game previews because they play back-to-backers on this weekend. So, same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Your mother.
God dang it.